crazy damage to over any while as the seal healing and defending.
Deepwoken is a difficult game with permanent character loss. Losing characters is a part of the game that should be expected, or at least, that's what the devs say. I have one question for these devs. How do you expect a difficult experience? You can kill Ferryman before his first attack. Kill Primadon while untested. Nexteria spent all this time making a unique, fun, intricate boss, just for it to die in half a minute. Corey made this huge raid boss, which needs teammate coordination with a huge learning curve with its own unique AI and moves, just for it to die in a few seconds. Good luck having a good trading economy when I can print Moon's Eyes from 30-second Elder Primadon stat checks. Chaser is by far the biggest victim. Back in the day, there was a way to one-shot kill him with a flame grab. It would take 10 to 12 seconds after starting the fight to kill Chaser using the bug. Skipper Gripper's PvE build after starting the Chaser fight takes 5 seconds to zero cycle Chaser, and then another 5 to auto grip Chaser, to finish the fight in a total of 10 seconds before Chaser can even attack once. You can quite literally kill Chaser faster using modern day PvE builds than a one-shot bug. Do we not see the issue with this? It's also not limited to just min-max PvE builds. There are 200-year-old builds that don't use Shrine of Order that can one-cycle Chaser in 30 seconds. Where's the risk of dying? Where's the skill? The developers are in a constant tug-of-war with PvE players. On a podcast with Agamatsu, I once asked his opinion on PvE nerfs. He said, paraphrasing here, "We don't like to nerf PvE because after players have been using certain things for so long, people complain if we nerf it." I personally think this is very hypocritical. Agamatsu was very vocal in the past about needing to nerf long-standing overpowered weapons in PvP, such as Curse Winter, which went months without a nerf. On top of that, he was also very vocal in his opinion in removing the ability to spam idols to escape the depths. This was done in an attempt to make players wipe more. However, PvE builds are quite literally unkillable in PvE. To prove this fact, I had my friend go on his PvE build and carry me through a Chaser fight while I was at Power 1. The goal was to have him kill Chaser so fast that I wouldn't die on a fresh new Power 1 slot. During this fight, I wouldn't block, dodge, or parry. I lost 30% HP, equating to about 60 HP in total. Any player on this PvE build could legitimately ignore every move Chaser did and just spam attacks, and they would live. In the same podcast, I also asked Agamatsu if he could ever have a self-challenge echo modifier similar to Glass Bones that would disable parrying. Agamatsu said it was a horrible idea, because why would you take out the parrying in a parry-based game? Well, as you can see, it's pretty easy to take out the parrying in a parry-based game. So, I ask one more time, how do you expect a difficult experience? A lot of players defend this by saying things like, it's a choice to use a build. If you want to cheese bosses by making a one-shot build, then it's a choice to do that, and we shouldn't take it away from players. But to those people, I have one question. Is it not called PvE, standing for player versus environment? Why are we making this into BvE, build versus environment? New players have no reason to learn PvE, and simply put, they don't. If we look at someone like Skipper, who has made a lot of overpowered PvE builds that can kill bosses faster than they can kill you, and compare his views to someone like Infected, who makes guides to beat PvE on any build, the difference is night and day. After all, why risk dying to learn a boss when I can just make a build that stat checks every boss? I personally love PvE. I love it so much I did Glass Bones. However, I myself haven't bothered learning Elder Primadon or Titus, because why would I? My build kills them in half a minute. I just gotta survive for that long. The developers have closed the gap between PvE and PvP by doing things like the bestiary update. However, while nerfing PvP to prevent it from becoming build versus build, they have not given PvE the same attention. Which leads me to the second main point of this video. Future content. Right now, there are two major pieces of PvE adjacent content around the corner. First off, there's Vow of Iron. It's supposed to be a hardcore Deepwoken. It was mentioned by Rag in the Deepwoken Direct that you would wipe upon dying to bosses. However, as mentioned before, there is no risk of dying to bosses, because you can just stat check them. I really hope that before launching this new hardcore game mode, they balance out these overpowered builds. Secondly, and more importantly, we have Layer 3. From what we know about Layer 3, it will be a mix of open world and instant dungeons. This means there will be a mix of PvP and PvE. Because of this, the developers will most likely balance the new Layer 3 content around the average player's build. However, if they do that, then PvE builds will be able to delete any new boss in seconds. If they instead decide to balance it around the PvE builds, then Layer 3 will become build locked. The only solution is to nerf PvE builds. While PvP's power creep is constantly being acknowledged and changed, PvE builds have only gotten stronger and stronger. For example, while PvP had the damage multiplier cap lowered to 1.5 times instead of 1.75 times, PvE still stands at 1.75 times. PvE has also been getting buffed instead of nerfed. They increased PvE scaling on beam attacks. The developer's current solution to this problem is slot soulbound items, things such as Crown, the Mantle of Amity, and rewards from the Gaunt Trial. By doing this, players on a PvP build are forced to take difficult PvE challenges on non-PvE builds. While on the surface, this looks like a great idea, I personally think it's a bandage fix that hurts the game instead of helping long term. While yes, it's good that it forces players to get good instead of relying on a build, it's bad in the sense that instead of nerfing overpowered builds, the devs keep them in the game to appease PvE players. At the rate we're going, people who main PvP are the real PvE players. They actually have to learn the PvE content, while BvE players can just place down a metal turret or two, go into Tacit, and go take a nap. While Primadon died to my metal turrets, I was AFK getting snacks. I can AFK a boss. People will sit here and tell me that PvE balancing shouldn't happen when I can AFK bosses, which leads me to my third part of this video. PvE balancing. In my opinion, there are three things that are necessary to balance out PvE builds. First off, Chain of Perfection changes. Right now, Chain of Perfection is really easy to abuse. All you need to do is farm chain stacks on a fodder monster or lightning clone to gain double damage for a minute. I would personally make it so the Chain of Perfection buff only works on the enemy you got them from instead of just a general buff. I would also make it so you can only gain stacks from M1s. Right now, players just use multi-hit crits and mantra spam to gain max stacks instantly. The stack gaining cooldown just isn't enough. However, if M1s were the only way to gain stacks, it would require players to mage spam less while also punishing them for not being able to parry the bosses. Secondly, a PvE drop-off system. This suggestion would probably require a lot of work, but it's in my opinion a really good system idea for general balancing. Here's how it would work. Every additional mantra that hits the same enemy applies a 5% damage reduction to all mantras. So let's say a mantra normally does 100 damage per hit, and then you have two mantras hitting at the same time on the same enemy. That 100 damage goes down to 95. And if you do a third mantra, that damage goes down to 90.25. As a result, you'll still do more damage from mantra stacking, but it will be capped out a little bit to prevent things like zero cycling bosses. And last but not least, scaling adjustments. I believe M1 scaling should be increased, and as a result, mantra scaling should be reduced to match it. Every build has M1s, but not every build has a sightless beam or a metal turret. Monsters can also be done before a fight even starts to stack free damage, while M1s can't. If M1s were made the meta for PvE builds, you could still make an overpowered PvE build, but nothing like a zero cycle chaser or killing a boss while AFK build. If all these were implemented, PvE would be saved, and if one or two of these were implemented, it would be amazing for PvE's health and balancing. Overall, I know what I've said here today will probably have just about 0 people agreeing with me. I also don't think any developer will see this, but I do hope and pray that by some miracle, Raguzer sees this and he blesses us with the PvE nerfs and adjustments that will actually make you have to stay awake for a boss. It would be amazing if this could actually happen one day. Who knows? Listen, man, no matter what happens, when Vow of Iron comes out, I will do Glass Bones on it. I just hope when I do it, it's not me AFKing and a mage spamming, because Deepwoken is a difficult game with permanent character loss. Have an amazing rest of your day. Hashtag it's PvE, not BVE. Midge signing off. Also, subscribe!